Today we're going to talk about setting up a loom. So when you go to start your weaving project, you're going to want your loom all started and set up. So that's what we're going to work on today in the class, and you have some time to get it set up, okay? So it's going to ask you to find some cardboard, and there's a number of different cardboards you can use that you'll find around your house. This cardboard was from the bottom of my Amazon groceries delivery. If any of you guys use Amazon Fresh, sometimes they come in a brown paper bag, and this is at the bottom of the bags. So you can get one of these out. It's already cut for you. It's kind of the perfect size. So if you have one of those, you could use that. This also just came in a package. So if you randomly have cardboard somewhere, this would probably be okay. It's a little bit more flimsy. So they recommend using the same type of cardboard. This is a little bit thinner than this is. But they recommend using a cereal box. If you do that, you want to glue 2 layers together. This is another, like if you don't have a cereal box, but you have some kind of a box from Crackers or anything, you could use that too. This is a little bit smaller. This is much bigger. So you'll cut this down a little bit, so you can also trim it down to a good size. So to get started, if you're going to use your cereal box, do the 2 layers, you want to look on your box for the side where there's a seam. Sometimes it's hard to find, but it's there. So I can see it's right here. Sometimes you can also look inside, and you'll be able to see it better inside because, sorry, I'm going to try to find it for you guys to see. There's that line. Let me fix the light. See that right here? That's the seam. So if I tear right on that edge, it shouldn't rip the cardboard. So it'll give me a nice, neat separation. I've got to undo both the top and the bottom. Trying to be careful. All right, so now I'm going to unfold my box completely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and cut down the line because that's the easiest place to cut, I think. I'm going to trim off the flaps, the top and bottom, and that one side. And then on the other one, I'm going to do the same thing. So I just have these flat rectangles. Alright, so I'm going to get these, put these in my recycling bin. Alright, so I'm going to take my glue. I'm going to go all around the edge. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this piece on top, kind of squish it around just slightly, moving up and down just to spread the glue a little bit inside. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry. So this is going to take, maybe I would give it an hour to dry, if not longer, because there's no air. So maybe leave it overnight to dry. Right, so I can just set it underneath some heavy books. I think you guys have your curriculum books that are pretty big, so you can put it under that overnight to let it dry. So let me set this out to dry, and we'll go on to the next part. So once that's dry, I'm going to just trim the edges again so it's nice and clean, okay? And then I'm going to do this part. So now I want to create some little cuts so that I can string my yarn on my loom. So I want to use my pencil and a ruler to measure. So I think I like the spacing of the centimeters. And I'm going to line up my ruler with the edge. That way, when I go down to the bottom, it's going to be the exact same straight line. Okay, if I just start it over here and then down here, I start it a little bit over, then my threads are going to be, or my yarns are going to be a little bit crooked. So I'm going to make sure I line up my first mark of the ruler with the paper's edge. So I'm going to start on 2, and I'm going to mark, and I'm also going to go down about 2 centimeters too. So I'm going to start on 2, and I'm going to go every centimeter. Okay, so now I have to do the same thing at the bottom. Don't turn your paper over or don't flip it around because you want it to be exactly lined up the same way. So I'm going to do the same thing. Line up my ruler. I'm going to start at 2. From the edge of the paper in a straight line up to the line. Try to be as straight as you can. I know the light is a little, let me see if I can adjust that. So I'm going to speed this up in the editing software so you can see it a little bit faster. Just make sure you're doing yours nice and carefully and safely. Okay, that side's all done. Okay, so that should be all set on both sides. Okay, so I made my cuts. Now I'm going to set up my loom. So to start making the weft, you're going to want to unravel some yarn, where I'm using twine because I don't have any yarn yet. And I'm going to kind of drop it to the side. And then I'm going to take a piece. I'm going to make it kind of long because at the end we're going to tie it across to the center. So make it a little bit long like that. Kind of measure it to the middle from the corner. As long as it passes the middle, you should be good. I'm going to take this spot and I'm going to stick it in the first spot right here. Okay, and I'm going to go down to the bottom. And then I'm going to turn it over, go across to the next one. Since that's already there, I'm going to go to the next one. Make sure you don't skip any. And you don't want it to be too tight or too loose. You want it to be just like this. If it's bending your board up like this and it's too tight, and if your threads are like this, they're not straight, then it's too loose. So you want to pull it just enough that it doesn't pull the board up. Okay. And just continue all the way down to the end. Okay, so now I've gotten to the end. This is a little piece from the twine. Just put that in the back. Okay, so now I got to the end. So now what I want to do is I want to take the 2 pieces and tie them together. So I need to cut this long enough that I can tie a knot, crisscross them, pull it down, make a loop, fold it under, and then tie your knot, and don't pull it too tight, otherwise you're going to get that thing where it like comes up again. So just do it nice and firm. I'm going to trim it a little bit so that it doesn't stick out on the other side at all. And that's it. So this is actually the back, and this is the front. So you can see how nice and straight the front looks. And that's where you're going to start when you do the next step. And this is all you need to do for this week.